Welcome back to part 5 of this sculpting an egg creature man thing tutorial that you can do as well series. So we have a pretty detailed guy and we're going to continue refining him. Now if your egg doesn't look like this, that's fine, especially if you're a beginner. I'm just trying to show different processes you can use, like different actions and different brushes and different things you can do to get results like this. And it's just an issue of repetition. So doing little projects, even if the result is terrible, if you're a beginner, that's normal, that's fine. So what we're going to do to continue this is refine this stuff in between the cracked shell for pretty much most of this video, just to give it some kind of unique appearance. So we'll just hit BCB to bring up the clay buildup brush, change the alpha to 6, just because it gives you a nice circular alpha with some fall off. And we're just going to sculpt into these ridges we already sculpted to kind of give them more shape, to kind of make them a little bit more distinct so they don't just look like straight lines. So we're just going to keep sculpting into some of these forms here to add some variety. So it's a very important thing. You don't want just like straight lines in your design unless it's intentional for something like a hard surface model. So you can Dynamesh while doing this, just by dragging. It still should be active, even if you close the project, as long as you left it active. So if you go all the way down to under subtool geometry, go down to the geometry tab, go to Dynamesh. If it's still active, then you're fine. If not, you can just activate it here. Changing the resolution will increase or decrease how detailed the model is, which you can turn on over here. So you can always check that. And you can also tell just by zooming in close, you can kind of see where it blocks up. So we'll just kind of go through, sculpt in some of these details here, along like the mouth of this egg dude. And when we paint this, it'll look much better too. So like you don't want the model to be too complicated because a lot of it is just going to be lost anyways once you retopologize it. So we'll just sculpt in some details here, kind of add some unique shapes to like the sides and the back of it. Pretty simple stuff, nothing too crazy. And the key here is to practice sculpting, because if you're new to sculpting, the only way to get better at sculpting is to try to achieve some kind of result while sculpting. So the more you do of it, the better you will get. And the more you try to create something specific, the better you will get. So if you try to copy a design, like in this case, in this like this egg guy, if you're trying to achieve a result similar to this, then you'll be pushing yourself towards like an objective, like a goal, right? So like, you know, sculpting anything, it could even be like fruit or people, animals, whatever. As long as you have some kind of reference and some kind of target you're aiming at, you will improve. Especially if you're honest with like how it looks and look for areas where you can improve at. So we're almost done with some of these crevices here. And you can kind of sculpt in where the shell meets with the creature's like body, so that it can kind of create like a separation between the two. So let's get the back a little bit. You can always see my cursor, like how it's moving for like sculpting some of these details. I'm basically just like sculpting in lines, but just like clumped up. Using the stylus with pressure sensitivity. Now if you don't use pressure sensitivity, so here's like the mouse, this is what it looks like. It'll look very flat. So you actually have to control how much pressure you put on this. So like if you press down harder, you'll get more, you'll take away more mass in this case while holding down Alt. Make sure you are holding down Alt if you're trying to sculpt into something with the clay buildup. Otherwise you'll be building it up. So now I'm actually just building it up. And you can tell when I have Alt because there'll be a minus. next to the cursor. All right, I think we're getting pretty close to being done with this part of the model. Then we're gonna focus a lot of attention on the shell. I just Dynamesh there just to increase the resolution. When you push in or pull out too much of a model, you will be stretching those polygons, so you do need to Dynamesh that every so often so that your model isn't too stretched. And this is kind of looking repetitive here, so I'm going to actually break up this shape to give it some distinct look, so it doesn't look like the same pattern is repeating. Because this creature is very organic looking. Alright, so now we have this middle section done. So what I want to do before finishing this video is I want to refine the edges of the shell, because we're going to be modifying the shell a lot in the next video to kind of wrap up this creature sculpt. So you can take the flatten brush, BFA, or just go to flatten, which should be around here. You can start flattening some of the edges here. This helps us refine the edge, so it's a little bit cleaner. So I'm using a lot of pressure here because I want to smooth out a lot of this, and I can always modify it later with the move brush if I want to add more randomness or asymmetry. All right, I think we're almost there. Try to stay like along the edge you want to flatten, because if you start going in, if you go too far off, you'll start flattening the actual artwork instead of just like these unrefined edges that we're specifically trying to target. And you can go to the edge of it. So like if you flatten here, it won't really flatten this. It'll just flatten the edge. So that'll give you a nice crisp edge, as long as it's not near other things. So the inside edge will start flattening the actual creature. The outside edge, it's okay to flatten that. All right, we're almost done with this. I just have to get these outer edges here. You can see it's polishing it up, so it's nice and smooth. And then later on, we're going to add cracks to this and some more detail to the shell, which should look pretty good. And I'll probably do some masking with that to do some more masking practice, because really this is just a tutorial to trick you into teaching yourself ZBrush by using like this video as a guide. But if you give yourself little projects to work on, it's much easier to learn how to do things in a given software. Because if you just decide to learn ZBrush, like that's so vague. Like you need to learn how to do something specific in ZBrush, and then you can take that and apply it to whatever project you want to work on. All right, so we flattened the edges. They're looking nice and crisp now. You could say cooked if you want. So that's pretty much it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful. And also drop a comment, let me know what you think. We're going to be refining the eggshell in the next video, and then I'm probably going to do 2 or 3 more follow-up videos where we modify this and turn it into a different design that'll be pretty interesting and cool. I don't want to spoil what that would be because it's going to be a pretty cool design, but thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.